Welcome to the Man of Recaps. This is Ted Lasso Season 1. Meet Ted Lasso, an American football coach who's brought in to coach football in England, which of course over there, it's a whole different sport. Americans know it as soccer. Ted recently went viral for coaching an underdog college team to winning the championship, so team owner Rebecca Welton thinks that Ted Lasso might be just the fresh perspective they need. She just got the team in a divorce with her cheating playboy husband Rupert, and turns out bringing in Ted is part of her plot to sabotage the team to get back at her ex-husband. Now everyone hates Ted at first because he's obviously way out of his depth, but Ted Lasso has an annoying, infectious optimism. He's just such a genuine friendly guy that you can't help after a while but to love him.
He thinks he's mad now. Wait till we win him over.
He'll be furious.
So Ted settles in to coach the Premier League team, AFC Richmond. His best friend and assistant coach is Coach Beard, who doesn't really say much, but is the best wingman a guy could ask for. Richmond's star player is Jaime Tartt, a young up-and-comer who's an incredible athlete, but he's not much of a team player. In fact, he's generally a wanker. Roy Kent is the team's veteran captain, who was a superstar in his prime, but he's starting to show his age. He's a real standoffish kind of guy whose constant streams of profanity are the reason this series is rated TVMA. Rebecca's assistant is Leslie Higgins, who she hilariously treats like rubbish. Then there's Nate, the team's kit man, who's really lacking in self-confidence and surprised the manager knows his name. Now, Jaime Tartt has a hot model girlfriend, Keeley Jones. She and Ted actually become fast friends because they're kindred spirits. She's real nice and funny too. And their friendship gives Rebecca an idea for her first evil plan. While he's feeding her a burger one day, as you know you do, she hires a photographer to take scandalous pictures of them, hoping Jaime Tartt will get mad, it'll break up the team. But Keeley gets wind of this before they go to print, and as an influential rich person, they go to Rebecca for help. So to keep her cover, she's like, yeah, I can ask the paper not to print them. After this, Keeley starts hanging out with Rebecca more, and they kind of become best friends. Ted Lasso's also trying to force a friendship with Rebecca. He shows up every morning for biscuits with the boss, where he brings her cookies, and they are so delicious she tolerates his presence. Now the football is not going well, and Ted becomes well acquainted with the English term wanker. He really doesn't know the sport that well, so he goes to someone who lives and breathes football, Nate. After some coaxing, he shares his ideas, which basically involves using Jaime Tartt as a distraction and letting other people score goals. Jaime does not like this though, so he and his mates start harassing Nate. This doesn't sit well with Roy Kent. Ted Lasso's incorrigible optimism is finally rubbing off on him, so he tells these guys off like, hey, come on, we're better than this. And as predicted, Roy is very angry that Ted's made him a better person. One night at a team charity event, we finally meet Rebecca's ex-husband Rupert. He's the type of charismatic playboy billionaire that everyone seems to love, even though he is a wanker. Ted Lasso, though, sees right through this guy, and while Rebecca's distraught, he's there to comfort her. They become friends for real, even though she's still trying to sabotage the team. Meanwhile, Jaime Tartt's cockiness is really starting to rub Keeley the wrong way, so she dumps his ass. They kind of stay friends, though, because she's been managing brand deals for him, and in fact, Rebecca hires her on to do the rest of the team. Ted Lasso, by the way, has a family, a son that he loves, and a wife that things are not going well with. That's why he took the job, to give her some space. They come for a visit one weekend and have a real happy family time, but his wife's like, I'm sorry, Ted, I like you, but I don't love you anymore. I don't know what's wrong. Ted is distraught, but luckily he's got a group of great guys around him for some good bro counseling. So he's like, hey, it's nobody's fault we've grown apart. I gotta let you go. Aw, sad Ted. Back to football, Jaime Tartt is still scoring all of Richmond's goals. He still refuses to be a team player, so Ted makes the controversial call to bench him, which the fans do not like. But by now, Ted has really connected with the rest of the team, convinces them to believe in themselves. So they go back out there and working together, they won their first game. It's a triumphant moment, and Ted starts to win the Richmond crowd over. They still call him wanker, but in a good way. Jaime's attitude does still not improve though. Luckily, there's a new player fresh off the injured reserve. It's Dani Rojas, an incredibly talented player whose unbridled joy and love of the sport fits right in with Ted's new team.
Football is life!
Unfortunately, he's immediately injured again because turns out the team has a curse on it. Luckily, Coach Ted knows just how to break a sports curse. He has all the players sacrifice something to appease the spirits. And after a heart-to-heart with Keeley, where she convinces him that deep down he's a good person, Jaime Tartt comes to join in. He tells the story of how his dad is a real bad dude that always pushed him to hog the glory for himself, and he's like, sorry guys, I've been a bit of a wanker lately. And so the curse breaking works. Dani Rojas is okay. To be clear though, curses don't exist. It was just a minor sprain. But now the team, including Jaime, is closer than ever. Rebecca can't have this. She trades Jaime away, claiming she had to for contract reasons, and so just when Ted was getting through to him, he's lost his star player. At an away game, Ted has Nate give the pregame speech where he drops some hard truth bombs on all the players about their weaknesses. Once he gets some confidence though, it turns into kind of a hilarious roast, and turns out it's exactly what the players needed to hear. They win the game. And by the end of the season, Nate the Great is officially promoted to Coach Nate. The team's out celebrating with some wild karaoke, but Ted is sad because his divorce is just being finalized. But he randomly hits it off with Rebecca's old best friend Sassy, and Ted has his first one-night stand, which he feels real guilty about. So he calls a bro counseling sesh for some mature level-headed advice. Hey, you're both adults, you're divorced now, there's nothing wrong here. So Ted feels much better, and this advice circle's so good, he officially dubs them the Diamond Dogs. Meanwhile, Roy Kent and Keeley have had a fun relationship, and since Jaime, it's turned to flirtation. At the away game, they had their first kiss, but Roy Kent leaves it there, trying to be a gentleman. When they get back, he's like, sorry, I can't hang out, I'm busy, and Keeley thinks he doesn't like her. So when Jaime Tartt comes over, she's like, sure, why not? They get it on. But turns out Roy does like her, he was just actually busy. But when she confesses she slept with Jaime again, oh, now Roy's mad. Luckily, Coach Ted knows just what to do. Assemble the Diamond Dogs. dogs. They give him some real mature, reasonable advice, so he apologizes to Keeley like, hey, I don't want that to keep us apart. Later, at a team shareholders meeting, Rupert is here. Per the divorce, he's not legally allowed to own any stake in the team, but he bought some for his new girlfriend, who coincidentally is also named Rebecca, and they're engaged now. This is just awful. So Ted makes a wager with him over a game of darts. Hey, if you win, I'll let you set the lineups or whatever, but if I win, you stay out of the owner's box for the rest of the season. Rupert's happy to accept because he's a master darts player, but turns out Ted was hustling him. He's a master darts player too, and he wins. Once again, he stood up for her, even though she's secretly still betraying him. Finally, though, Keeley discovers her betrayal, like, hey, you gotta come clean to Ted. So Rebecca confesses she's been sabotaging Ted and the team the whole time. I'm so sorry, I realize I was being awful now. Will this cause some intense drama? No, it doesn't. Ted forgives her immediately. What a stand-up guy. Back to football, they have a problem. Roy Kent is really slowing the team down now, and Ted doesn't want to, but he's gotta bench him. At first, Roy is furious, but after a mature adult conversation with his girlfriend Keeley, she's like, hey, you're more than just a footballer. It doesn't define you. And so Roy accepts his new reality with grace and a stream of profanity. But the stakes are high for the final match. If they lose, Richmond faces relegation, which means they're demoted out of the Premier League. And they're playing against their old superstar teammate, Jaime Tartt, so pretty soon looks like they're gonna lose. Ted does put in Roy Kent for a bit though, who gives one final run, chases down his old rival, and stops a goal. Unfortunately though, he is injured here. He knows that's it for his career, but the crowd gives him a hero send-off. But wait, what's this? Another team has just won by enough points that Richmond doesn't have to win, they can just tie. So it's time to bust out the trick play they've been practicing where they line up like it's American football. This confuses the other team enough that, yeah, they score! Richmond's gonna survive! But wait, what's this? There's a few seconds left and Jaime Tartt's on a breakaway, and this time he passes to a teammate who scores! Yeah, this is not a Cinderella success story. Our team loses. But Ted Lasso's here to give his team a pep talk. Hey, we lost, that sucks, but you know, life goes on. Jaime Tartt, though, gets no such pep talk. In fact, Ted sees his dad really berating him for passing. So Ted gets Jaime a note like, hey kid, I'm proud of you. And relegation's not the end of the world. If they win next season, they're back in the Premier League. So that's how Ted Lasso Season 1 comes to an end. If you like this recap, hit that subscribe button for more of the best recaps of TV and movies. And if you loved this recap, check out the join button and support the channel as a member.